yes, you can find the perfect cut of meat for that perfect recipe you're looking for. And you could, even if you're really crazy, you can go to that next step and cut it yourself. And it's not that hard to do. People think you have to have some sort of like special skill, special license. I don't know what you need, but it's very attainable for the home cook if they're interested in that kind of thing.
Today's guest is someone I've really been excited to interview. Brad Baych, better known as the Butcher Wizard. Brad is a master butcher, educator, and storyteller who has turned his craft into an art form. His passion for whole animal butchery, regenerative sourcing, and honoring every part of the animal has inspired thousands of people to reconnect with where their food truly comes from. He's now bringing all of that wisdom together in his brand new book, Primal Cuts, a deep dive into the craft, culture, and philosophy of meat. It's part practical guide, part love letter to the primal roots of human nourishment. In this episode, we're going to chat about the lessons behind Primal Cuts, the lost art of butchery, and the most underrated cuts that you're probably not cooking. As always, if you enjoy these conversations, be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you are listening or watching on. The simple act of subscribing allows me to get more and more amazing guests on the show. And of course, if you haven't yet, leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you are listening on if that is your route of consumption. 5-star reviews help to push this podcast out to more and more people. And with that, let's welcome the Butcher Wizard, Brad Baych. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk. I know we've talked a couple times offline here, and I'm excited to kind of do it online for once.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's funny because when my husband and I started the carnivore diet, we watched a ton of your videos on how to break down a whole ribeye and a chuck eye roll. And we literally butchered, not to be funny, but horribly cut the chuck eye roll. That one's hard. The whole ribeye is easy, but the chuck roll, man, I need to practice a little bit more.
Absolutely. Like I think the strip loin and the ribeye are very easy to do. You're just basically taking a big piece of meat and cutting it into steaks, and then the chuck roll does have a little bit of a technical aspect to it.
Yeah, a little nuance to that one. We still ate it, but we were like, we didn't do as good as Brad. Dang it. That's all good. So Brad, for people that don't know you, can you tell us where the nickname the Butcher Wizard came from?
Yeah, it's kind of a interesting story. When I decided I wanted to get into content creation, I did it as I didn't really expect it to go anywhere. I used to be a culinary school teacher, and then I became a stay-at-home dad. And I was looking for that kind of scratch that itch of teaching people things. And I was like, okay, well, let's do butchery. I really like that. That was my favorite class to teach in culinary school. So, I actually just looked for what was available online as far as the name was. And I went through a couple of different iterations, and I'm like, hey, Butcher Wizard sounds good. Let's go for it.
That's
so it's
awesome.
really kind of random.
No, that's great. You really are the Butcher Wizard, so it's highly appropriate. So tell me a little bit about the culinary school teaching. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so I've always worked in restaurants. I've pretty much throughout my career have done everything you can think of: restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, butcher shops. Done everything. I went to culinary school after high school. I taught culinary school later in life. So it's just been food has always been a part of my life. So it was a natural progression to go do that online, to teach that online.
Now, how long have you had your YouTube channel?
It's been about 3 years, maybe a little bit over 3 years. My 8th video, it's so not fair to people who start YouTube channels, because like my 8th video ever just blew up out of nowhere. I took a whole ribeye from Costco and I showed people how to cut it up and how much money it would save rather than buying it at the grocery store. And it got like 1 million views in 4 days. And then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm onto something. But then I was like, oh, I'm probably just lucky. And then I did it again with the tenderloin. And then that video went crazy too. So it was kind of like, okay, I got something here. So let's really kind of focus on it. And then the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I started my first YouTube channel in 2020. And then I was doing like a twin mom lifestyle channel. It was my third channel. And I had a couple of carnivore diet videos blow up. I released a 30-day and a 90-day update together because I had no other carnivore content on my channel, and they blew up. This was 2023, and now that's all I do. It's just so wild when the algorithm picks something up and you're like, oh, okay, this could actually work, you know?
I know, it's crazy. I don't know what it is, but hey, we're thankful that when it works.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's so funny because like younger kids, all of them want to be YouTubers. So when I talk to people like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. The kids are like, huh? Wow, that's amazing. And adults they don't know what to do with it. They're like, what do you do?
Absolutely. I'm the most popular guy in the in my kids' middle school / they just got to 9th grade. So I'm like the most popular dad in the grade. They all want to like talk to me and get you're a YouTuber, really? Like it's just funny.
Yeah, they're like, oh, can I get some tips? I'm like, you're 9.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so hilarious. I love that. So you wrote a book. You and I are on the same, we have the same publisher, Victory Belt. So I want to talk about that. I have it right here.
Oh, wow.
Primal
Great.
Cuts.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Thank
so
you.
good. It's so good, Brad. Like we were looking through it and I was just like, wow, I can't wait to try some of these recipes. Let's talk about it. So what inspired Primal Cuts and what do you hope readers take away from it?
Yeah, basically with Primal Cuts, the reason it's kind of different from other cookbooks is it's all about beef. So each chapter is a different primal cut of beef. So I teach you how to break it down with pictures and then recipes for those cuts of meat afterward. And then stories throughout where I came up with the recipes. And, it was actually kind of a funny story. I know we talked a little about YouTube so far, but I was in a YouTube mastermind group, kind of coaching group. And then the leader of the group goes, you know what? You need to write a cookbook. I think you could do a cookbook from what you're doing on your channel. And then he kind of gave me that idea and it just sat there in my head for probably a year or two. And then I got approached by Victory Belt if I was interested in making a cookbook. And I'm like, oh, I have a great idea. And, it was interesting because I really thought that it was, I thought it was going to be easy to come up with 100 recipes for beef. And then as I got into it, I'm like, this is very, very difficult. Because I need to think past all my culinary training and then make some stuff up on the fly and what would be cool and what would really make that piece of meat shine. So it was really challenging to come up with the different recipes and make it into a cohesive book.
Yeah, when I opened it, because I didn't know it was just going to be beef recipes, which I love. Beef is like my number one. And when I opened it, I was really impressed because, yeah, you of course, you show how to break stuff down, but then each chapter, it starts with how to break down that particular cut of meat, what to do with it. And then you go in and you talk about the recipes. And I was like, how did you come up with this many beef recipes?
Yeah, it was, and to photograph them all was also interesting. My wife did all the photos, and we kind of made it kind of a family project. And she's like, "Is this going to be another brown piece of meat that I have to make look good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. That's going to be another piece of meat that's brown that we're going to have to kind of make look good."
Well, you guys did a fantastic job on the photos. So for anyone out there that is watching or listening, with Victory Belt, you take your own photos. That's a part of it. So when you look at one of these cookbooks, mine or yours, those photos are taken by us. And you did an incredible job. I found that to be the hardest part. What was the learning curve like for you?
Absolutely. The photos were definitely the hardest part because the way that they suggest you take the photos, you look at them and they're super dark and they don't look good. And then you send them off to the magical editors and they come back looking like a great photo. I think the before and after photos of are unbelievable when you do behind the scenes of like, you took this thing and made this out of it. Like those breakdown photos are so funny because my wife is standing on a ladder and her feet are in most of the pictures. Like most of the raw pictures have her feet in them.
Wow.
So it's just kind of funny to see what they can do with them. But yeah, doing the photos was definitely the hardest part.
Yeah, I totally agree. It took me like a month to get the photos right because I kept adding like all of these props and stuff. They're like, no, you can't do fake plants and you can't do this, and you can't do that, but you're on the right path. They were very nice about it, but it took a while. No, this is great. So you've got beef recipes, and then you do have a chapter of sides, a lot of really good looking sides. So if anybody out there is doing like keto or an animal based or something like that, some red wine braised mushrooms, asparagus with hollandaise, jicama slaw. I'm going to have to cook something.
It's definitely like it was interesting because when I wrote the book, it was just kind of like my thoughts about everything that could go with beef. And I know I've gotten a lot of people on my channel who have really thrive on the meat-based diets. And I think I went through there, and about, I would say 60% or 75% of everything can be adjusted to either a keto diet or a carnivore diet. So I know your audience is a lot of carnivore dieters. So it can be adjusted, and those breakdowns are going to be good for everybody. So
yeah, totally. So like for me and my husband, I do more strict carnivore. He does carnivore, but he'll throw in like a ketovore, and we do a keto cheat meal once a month. And then I know a lot of people on my channel do ketovore, just low carb in general. I'm not opposed to some plants from time to time. They're tasty. They add a little extra flavor to it. That's awesome. So who did you write this book for? Did you write it for home cooks, chefs, carnivores, hunters, or just anyone who loves meat?
Yeah, it's basically for anyone who loves meat. It is kind of a culinary book. So it kind of goes, I wanted to be like a culinary textbook combined with a cookbook, because I think that is something that's not out there for the general public, because you start most recipes and they tell you what kind of meat to buy, but they don't show you like what are alternatives you could use, or what are how to actually break down the meat so you could do it yourself. It's just like I said, I think I wanted to marry, for the home cook, I wanted to marry that culinary side, like the culinary skill side, with regular recipes that people would know and love.
Well, you accomplished your goal. It's beautiful. It's well written. It's very easy to understand. And I like that. That's what's so cool when each individual comes up with their idea for a book. You can really kind of see what they're going for, like how their brain works. I like that culinary, textbook style teaching paired with the delicious recipes and how to cook everything. So it's really cool. Very cool concept. I have never seen anything like it in any cookbooks that I've seen out there. So kudos.
Thank you
very good job. Can you share one of your favorite sections or chapters from the book? Maybe a story or a cut or a philosophy that like defines the message of Primal Cuts?
Yeah, my favorite Primal Cut is the chuck. I think the chuck is one of my favorites because you can get so many cool steak cuts out of it that are cheaper and people don't know about and wouldn't expect. You can get the chuck eyes, the Denver steaks, the flat irons. Those are all Terrace Majors. Those are all great cuts that a lot of people don't know about, and they're cheaper than their counterparts like ribeyes and strips and things like that. So if I had to pick a Primal Cut, that's my favorite Primal Cut.
Yeah, and in today's economy, beef prices have gone through the roof. So anytime we can save some money and still have a delicious dish, it's really helpful. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you see people have about meat, and how do you tackle that in the book?
I think giving people the confidence to know specifically where the cut of meat comes from on the cow, and how those are different, because I think the beef has such a variety of flavors and textures. Some cuts do well with low and slow braising. Some do well with like grilling or sautéing or searing, and how those all intermingle, I think, is one of the things that, as a culinary professional, you kind of learn over the course of your career of what's best for it. But again, the home cook doesn't really know that. So I think the misconception is, like, yes, you can find the perfect cut of meat for that perfect recipe you're looking for. And you could, even if you're really crazy, you can go to that next step and cut it yourself. And it's not that hard to do. People think you have to have some sort of like special skill, special license. I don't know what you need, but it's very attainable for the home cook if they're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like when we watched your videos, you had a couple of knives, the 10-inch breaking knife, and I think the 6-inch boning knife just linked in your description. So we picked those up and we just went to Costco and picked up a couple pieces and tried it. And we still do the whole ribeye. Like probably every 6 weeks, we still do that. It's just like a $4 cost savings from the pre-cut.
Yeah, it saves money every day of the week. I do that video several times about how the ribeye specifically, and it still saves money even today. Like with the beef prices being high, you can still save a ton of money just doing that one simple thing of just taking a whole ribeye and slicing the steaks.
Yeah. At my local Costco, the pre-cut ribeye is $18.99 a pound right now, and the whole ribeye is $14.99 a pound.
Yep, that's exactly the same prices for mine.
Yeah, exactly. Totally worth it. Plus, I also like having control over the size of steaks that I cut. So we'll do thinner ones, and then we'll do like normal size, and then we'll do some thickies. We'll do some like 2-inch that we go, sear on the outside and then go slow. Ugh, so good. But you're not going to get that in the pre-cut.
Absolutely. That's one of the big things is like it saves money, but also the customization. We're getting to the holiday time. You cut your own prime ribs, that kind of thing. As well as those 2-inch steaks if you want them. Some people like them real thin, just a quick like minute steak for breakfast or something, and you can do all that with one cut.
Exactly. So is there a must-try recipe or method in Primal Cuts that you think will surprise people? Is there something in here that people will be like, huh?
Well, so I have two that come to mind. So my favorite recipe in there is the steak au poivre. That's one of my favorite dishes ever. Every time if I go to a steakhouse and they have that, I'm a sucker for it. It's a New York strip with a brandy green peppercorn sauce over the top. And it's like my favorite. So I had to have that in there. And that was one of the first things I learned when I worked at a steakhouse. When I was 17 years old, I worked at a fine dining steakhouse, and that was like one of the first things I learned how to make. So I think that holds, deep in my heart. So that's a great recipe. The other one is kind of the most interesting story I called it in the book Celebrity Chili. Now I used to work at a 5-diamond hotel restaurant in Dallas, Texas, right after I got out of culinary school. So I was a real fresh out, and we get a lot of celebrities come through there. And there was a particular one who he requested that we make chili, and so high-profile celebrity wants chili. So one of the sous chefs was tasked with making this, and he spent all day trying to perfect what a perfect chili would be. And it has dried chilies, and it has some crazy different ingredients like peanuts and chocolate or cocoa, some orange juice. It has like a really weird conglomeration of ingredients, but it makes a perfect, beautiful chili. That's kind of like the fine dining version of chili. So that's another cool recipe in the book.
All right, so I know which 2 recipes I need to start with first.
Yeah, one of them's easy, and one of them's a little bit more time consuming. So the steak au poivre is very easy to throw together, and the other one takes a little bit of time, but it's
cool.
They're both worth it.
It's chili season, so it's time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Butchery. What are your top 3 underrated cuts that most people overlook, and how should they be cooked? I know you talked about the chuck.
Yep. So one of my favorites right now is a flat iron. I know there's a bunch of grocery stores basically because beef prices are going up, they're downgrading like the what they have. So they're increasing the amount of budget cuts they have and decreasing the amount of like ribeyes and fillets. So you'll see a lot more of those in the grocery store. Flat irons have been the one that has been it's so good. People don't really know about them, but it's a thin rectangular piece of meat that comes from the chuck. And it is a beautiful steak cut. When you cook it medium or less, it is tender and well marbled and has a great flavor. So that's one of my favorites. There is, the Terrace Major is also good that people may have not have heard of. It is also called like a petite tender a lot of times. it looks like a small beef tenderloin. So it's a lean piece of meat, but they're only about a pound a piece. And they're kind of hard to find. So every once in a while, you'll see them in the grocery store. They're popping up a little bit more. Or if you go to, I always recommend going to a place called the Chef Store, which is U.S. Foods. They're open to the public, but it's kind of like a Costco and a restaurant supply together. So that's a great cut of meat if you can find it. And then let's see, the third one, I would say we'll go from another area. The tri-tip is great. I know that's not really a super secret, but I'm in South Carolina and we don't get a lot of tri-tips. I always joke with people who are in California because I say that they keep them all and they don't ever let them get East Coast. So if you can find a tri-tip, those are great. Those two, the tri-tip sits in between the sirloin and the round, and it's a great cut also that if you cook it, medium rare medium or roast it, it's delicious.
Great. That sounds good. What are your thoughts on dry aging at home? Is it worth it or is it overrated?
I love a dry aged steak. I had my first dry aged steak, I would say a couple of years ago, when I was working in a butcher shop and I got to taste it. And I'd never really gotten into dry aging. And I'm like, oh, I can definitely see how you could get into this. When you taste it, it has that kind of umami kind of flavor to it, which is really nice. It is on the list of things to experiment with doing it at home. I know there's several different ways to do it with, they have dry aging bags, they have, dry aging cabinets, things like that. So, I'm still experimenting with doing it at home, but I do love a good dry aged steak. Buying and eating a good dry aged steak.
Yeah, we very rarely try to do it at home, but if we're out, at a restaurant, we'll do it. It's just so funny though, because once like for me as a carnivore and I cut my own steaks and stuff, we don't really go to steakhouses anymore just because I can get a better quality steak from Costco for $14.99 a pound instead of spending $75 on a smaller steak that isn't as good. So it's kind of ruined it for me. But when we do go out, I still like the dry age.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. How do you personally source your meat? What should consumers look for when they're buying from like a local butcher versus a grocery store?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different ways you can get meat. So whether you go to your grocery store, a butcher shop, if you're going to a membership store, I think the biggest thing to look for is just using your eye test, especially when you're talking about those, cut steaks that are cut pieces of meat that are under the cellophane. If you're at a grocery store, like just using your eyes and using your senses and saying like, if that doesn't look right, it's not. So don't pick that one up. You get the choice to pick which one you want. The freshest way to do it, I think, is to cut your own. Obviously, with going to Costco, getting a whole thing, getting a whole subprimal cut and cutting it up. That's the freshest way to do it because you can definitely know exactly where that meat has come from and when it was cut. So, I think freshness is the biggest factor when you're talking about how to source, different cuts of meat. I do try to go to local butcher shops when I can. I've noticed that in my area, the local butcher shops are kind of going high end with their meat. So you kind of have to, they're getting prime beef. So to put in the case, because they're trying to differentiate because they can't compete on price from some of the big box stores. So their only option is to go like high end. So if I'm looking for a prime cut, that's the place I go for a special occasion or something like that. So you just different ways to buy meat or for different occasions, for different things you're doing. But, you can get a good steak pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I've noticed that in my area as well with the local butchers. It's only prime. That's all they have. Yeah, I wonder how the prices are affecting local butchers right now.
That's a great question. I don't, I don't know how much all of the, I don't know if the reasons that beef has gone up. I'm sure it affects the prime species of cattle also. So I'm sure they're feeling the pinch as well. It seems like it's across the board.
Yeah, definitely. If you could teach every home cook one butchery skill, what would it be and why?
Okay. I think that, kind of turning your kitchen into a home butcher shop and thinking about that. So like getting the big cut of meat, cutting it up, but also the real secret of butcher shops is the ground beef, is what they do with the trim. So in a butcher shop, you're going to cut lots and lots of subprimal cuts, and you're going to have all this trim. So you're going to have fat trim, you're going to have lean trim, and that's what they use to make their ground beef. And that's why it tastes so good when you get that fresh ground beef from a butcher shop, is because it's got a little bit of strip in there. It's got tenderloin in there. It's got ribeye in there. It's got everything. And I think people can do that at home just the same. They can take that trim and make great ground beef. I don't know when the last time I purchased ground beef was, because I have stuff all the time, run it through the grinder, and it's fresh. It came from one cut of meat or a couple of cuts of meat, and not 1,000 cows. Like you hear about the ground beef, it comes from there's 1,000 cows in 1 pound of ground beef or whatever. So it just feels good too, to like use everything when you buy it and you don't waste anything.
Yeah, totally. What's the brand of grinder that you use that you recommend?
Yeah, so I use the grinder from meachermaker.com. They are a website that does they kind of cater towards like the hunter and the person I use their like bottom of the line, like the grinder. It's 500 watts or something. It's perfect for what I do. They have crazy ones that go really expensive, but like I think they cater, like I said, to the hunter, and but it's a great grinder. I put it through a lot of work, so they last and they hold up really well. So
nice. How long have you had yours?
I would say about 2-3 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Ever since I got the channel, that's what I use. So yeah,
okay.
It's worked out great, and I haven't had any problems with it. I'm selfishly probably going to upgrade. I'm waiting for the Black Friday sale. So as soon as that comes around, I'll probably upgrade, just because, not because I need to, but because I want a little more power,
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's time, you've had it for 2 or 3 years, but I think that's a testament to the quality, because, so many things out there nowadays are just built to break. So when you're looking for a grinder, you want it to have enough power to be able to work through all of the trimmings and the meat and stuff. So that's important. I definitely wanted to get my recommendation from you, since you're doing so much of it.
And I do recommend people try to get, if you're going to do this a lot, if you're going to do it more than 2 or 3 times, to get a freestanding grinder. They're not as expensive as you'd think, because, a lot of people have those, just a grinder attachment that goes on like their KitchenAid mixer or something. They probably got it for a wedding gift or something, and they haven't opened it up. But like, those plastic housings kind of tend to break. And if you're going to do it a couple of times, it's going to be worth it to go ahead and go with the freestanding grinder.
Yeah, and once you do it, you'll realize how easy it is, and you'll just be like, I want to do this every time.
Yeah, and you can do pork and make sausage. That's what that's what I love to do now. Is I'm getting back into making sausage. That's going to be on coming my channel soon. So I'm super excited about all that. So
I love that. Maybe your next cookbook can be like all pork.
I know. It's so funny. Like, I keep going like, what if they asked me to do another cookbook? Or what if this does so well that the audience wants me to do another cookbook? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's got to be a little, the PTSD has to wear off, like of doing the cookbook before you can do another one, right?
It's so funny that you say that, because my friend Courtney Luna, she wrote a carnivore cookbook. I think you know who she is. And we had talked about 2 weeks before her book came out, and she was just like, I have so much PTSD from writing this book. Like, my family hated me. I need a break.
Well, it's funny because I think like there are people who do make cookbooks as their whole job. Like, that's what they do. They're cookbook authors. Well, for those of us who otherwise also make videos and have other businesses, it's like that was just a portion of my business and my time, but it seemed to take a lot, like much more of the percentage of my time while we were in the middle of it,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for my book, the first half was just an in-depth guide. So it's like 200 pages of how-to and stuff. And that part was easier for me. The cookbook part was hard. But now I feel like now that we've been through that and we know what to expect, the second one I think will be easier. Yeah, it'll still be a lot of work, but at least then we won't have that learning curve,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You could do a pork, a chicken, seafood. There's so many, Brad.
Yes, I know. There's a lot. There's a lot out there there's a lot on the shelf, so to speak, to do. So
Yeah, definitely. So you tried the carnivore diet. I watched your update videos. How did that go for you?
Yeah, so I had a lot of people in my audience who were carnivores, and I actually did a video trying to call out carnivores for one video, and it did really well. So I was like, okay, let's try it. Let's give it a try. And I've done keto in the past. I've had just ups and downs with diets and everything like that. So I was like, I'll do carnivore. I'll try carnivore, and it was a really interesting experience, to say the least. I will say that I gave it 30 days. And my overall takeaway was that 30 days probably not long enough. I probably need to do a little longer because I was just starting to feel not like I was just starting to feel good, and then it was over, and I went back to doing what I was doing. So it was interesting that I did not crave, I started not craving a lot of things, and I would almost undereat, which I think was a problem also. I've been reading your book, and I'm like, oh man, I wish this book would have been out before I started, because it would have helped me with some of the pitfalls, I think, because I'm just crazy. I'll just do whatever. I was like, I'll just try it and see what happens. And then it's like, oh, I feel like garbage for the first couple of days. And, it's definitely not something to take lightly and to do kind of for the long term. So, but it was an interesting experiment, to say the least.
Well, I'm glad you tried it. I think you're right. Like 30 days is probably not long enough to accomplish whatever goals you're trying to accomplish, but I'm glad that you made it the 30 days. Some people would just be like, nope, I don't feel good, so I'm done.
And I probably would have quit too if it hadn't have been for doing the updates and people. I will tell you, the carnivore community is amazing, because the best portion of comments on my channel have been when I was doing carnivore. The YouTube comments section is not always the nicest place in the world. And, but when I was doing, the carnivore stuff, I mean, everybody just tell me their stories. Hey, you can do it. Keep going. Don't stop. All this stuff. I mean, I was like, man, this is a great community. So I stumbled into a great community in which I still want to help the carnivore community. I will definitely do it again. Do the diet again, but I want to help people. If someone's out there who only wants to eat meat and mostly beef, then I want to help them.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. This book is a huge part of that. So it's available for pre-order right now. So I'm going to put all of the links in the description below. It comes out on Tuesday, November 11th. So just like with my book, we did all the pre-orders. We want to push this book out too, because the more people that can find, an amazing cookbook like this, the more people can find the healing power of carnivore. Or maybe they're not even on carnivore. That's okay too. This book is for everybody.
Yes, it is. It's for everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, so my home is YouTube. So that's where I do the most content. That's where I have those videos. I also I'm on all of the socials, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff. So I can be found there. Those are good ways to get a hold of me. If you actually want to talk one-on-one, if anyone in your audience wants to DM me and we want to have a conversation. But yeah, I also have a private community in which we do, it's called the Primal Cuts Club. And so basically I take, everything I teach and I just take it up another level. So it's almost like a culinary school class. So we have a top-down camera that goes over all the cuts. And then we have, live Q&As in which if you get stuck, you can ask me a question. So that's the closest I've had to being a culinary school instructor again. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I'll put links to all of that in the description so that people can find it. Brad, this was awesome. Again, you were one of the very first people we watched on YouTube when we started Carnivore. So this is kind of surreal interviewing you now and talking to you. So thank you so much for coming on to Meat Matters today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.